Welcome to Streaming with Two Dudes, a podcast about all things streaming. Each episode, we break down some of the best series, songs, movies, and shows. I'm one dude, Parker.
I'm back, and I'm dude number 2.
And this month, our theme is natural disasters. And this episode, we are talking about Twister. But first, Jeff, welcome back, bro. I missed you, man. I hope your vacation went well. How was everything?
Man, it's good. It's good to see your face, to hear your voice.
Dude,
and
man, thanks. You too.
Not just words on a text message.
Yeah.
But yeah, vacation was great. Got to spend some time in San Antonio. Of course, we've always wanted to see the city, but it also worked out that we got family there. So got to spend a lot of good time with family. Loved Riverwalk. That was amazing. I'd go back just for Riverwalk. And then we decided to hit New Orleans for a few days. Interesting experience. I'll leave it at that. But
I love New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't quite meet our expectations, but we still did a lot of cool stuff. I had some cool experiences, and that's pretty much all you could hope for. But no, it's great to be back.
Cool,
I'm all vacationed up, trying to get out of the post-vacation blues funk. But luckily work hadn't been bad, so I feel like I've been able to kind of ease myself in and gotten to listen to some podcasts.
Yeah.
And especially one in particular, but we'll get into that later.
All right. Well, cool, man. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you're back. So I mean, I know that we've watched Twister, but did you have time in your vacationing? I know just for personal experience that you've been really busy, so I don't expect much from this question. But is there anything else that you've been streaming here lately besides Twister?
Well, believe it or not, I'm going to drop 2 on you.
Oh, nice. Okay, shocked. I am shocked.
One of them's kind of cheating. Actually, both of them are a little bit cheating, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway because, you're not going to fire me, so I got that going for me. So for the first time ever, I got to listen to this podcast called Streaming with Two Dudes, in which I didn't have to hear my own voice. And we had a co-host named Steen, who's from Immediately Know. Her sidekick Araya wasn't able to join, but together they do a podcast called Immediately Know. So go check it out. But Steen was great. Y'all were great together. I love the podcast. Y'all covered
a lot of fun.
Contagion, man. Just hearing y'all talk about it and just everything we went through with COVID,
dude.
It was just, I can imagine how freaky. I hadn't watched the movie yet, but just listening to y'all, I'm like, that had to be really freaky to watch that.
I mean, it was freaky. Like, honestly, it was freaky watching it post COVID. And so I can't even imagine, like, if the first time you had watched it was like during COVID, like how much more freaky it would have been. Because I mean, the amount of things that they had right, and knowing like the things that we would have known around certain times of this during COVID, that we were getting certain symptoms and stuff, and it was just like, oh man, is this what we're in for? Yeah, definitely would have. Oh man, it was pretty creepy at this point. So I can only imagine like then, and why it would have caused so much controversy.
And like I said, Steen was great, but I do have one bone to pick with her. I don't know if she's listening or if she will have a chance to listen. But Steen, you gave Parker an A+.
She did drop it down to an A. So
did she?
Yeah, my substitute teacher. She was a cool substitute. So hey,
all right, I'll get her a little slack then, because I'm like, don't give the boy an A+. I've never given him an A+. He's gonna get off cocky and arrogant. And he's gonna, he'll put on his resume and all that stupid stuff. But no, I'm glad she lowered it down to an A. But I mean, as far as I can tell, it sounds like you did give a pretty good recap. But the other thing I was going to talk about,
I was surprised on that one,
is this will be the first time I talk about a book
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I think you're probably a much bigger reader than I am.
Not that much. I wouldn't say
Okay.
I'm that big of a reader, but I get
Yeah.
probably about a good maybe 6 books a year, probably. So not
Okay.
heavy.
That's probably about 5.5 more than me per year, but no.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, and I don't know why. I mean, when I do decide to read a book, I usually enjoy it. Now, I will preface by saying that I didn't actually read this book. It was an audio book.
Yeah, oh,
Uh,
that's how I do it anyway. So you're
okay,
good.
good
Yeah, yeah.
deal. I
Which
know some
reminds
people
me,
are like,
I just remember a part two in the series that I really enjoyed. Like the first book of just came out like not too long ago, and I really need to listen to it. So I'm glad you said that. But keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
"Oh
Go
no,
on with the
you're
go on with
good,
the
you're good."
chlorophyll.
So yeah, Steph and I decided, you know what? Because we actually drove to San Antonio,
Yeah.
which we hadn't originally planned on doing. We were going to fly into San Antonio and then rent a car and drive back and hit New Orleans on the way home, whatever. But
Uh,
we actually decided to drive both ways, save a little money on airline, rental car. Plus, I don't know about you, but man, I hate packing for a flight. To me, it's so stressful. But man, when you can take your car, like man, we
yeah.
don't care. We just
Yeah.
throw it all in there. It's just so. But anyway,
See, for me, it's not really the packing part. It's when you're out and you're having to buy like souvenirs and things because it's just like, oh, I really don't want to have to like ship anything home or
well,
like pay
yeah,
for an extra carry or for an extra like
and that
like
played
an
a
extra
part
bag.
too.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, what played a huge role was when I was in New Orleans. I kind of wanted to be sure I had some firearm on me. A little bit more difficult when you're flying.
Yeah.
So that helped a little bit too. But no, we decided to do an audiobook, which I'm not sure why we haven't done this on every trip. Now we've done it a couple times before, especially when we were driving, like a real long distance like this one.
Yeah.
But we listened to the book Where the Crawdads Sing.
Okay.
I don't know if you've read that.
I have not.
I was only familiar with it because I know the movie came out in the last year or so. It's been fairly recent.
Yeah.
Uh, I know it's on Netflix now. We haven't got a chance to watch the movie. Definitely want to watch the movie. I know Taylor Swift did an original song for it, but man, it was such a good book. I highly recommend it. Excited to watch the movie. This is one of the few rare occasions in which I'm going to watch a movie after having read or heard the book
Yeah.
because I don't read a lot because I'm such a visual person that it almost annoys me to read a book and not be able to put some kind of visual picture to it, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
I kind
Uh,
of get it. But see, like, I don't know. There's a few occasions that I've actually done that, and the only two that I can really remember that I've done that with is the movie slash book of Holes. Have you ever seen that movie, Holes? With
Shia?
yeah, with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, yeah.
So I read the book. I read the book on that one. Because I was a big fan of like the Wayside School books. I don't know if you ever read those or if you're familiar with those, but the same author that did that wrote the book for Holes. So when he came out with that book, I was like really excited about it and I read it. And that was actually like one of the first like longer novels, I guess, that I wrote that I read.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other one was the first Harry Potter
Oh,
with
okay.
the Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, I read that one before the movie came out. So
Yeah. The only other one that comes to mind was probably Because of Winn Dixie. I don't know if you remember that one. Uh, I think my son was probably in elementary or middle school, and it was a reading assignment. So we read it as a family,
yeah,
and then as luck would have it, 2 years later they make a movie on it. So I was like, heck yeah! But so yeah, we were kind of intentional about um, picking a book in which my wife knew that I could watch the movie later because
yeah.
now we did listen to two other books. Like I said, it is such long drives that there is no movie version, so I was a little bummed about that. But they were good books as
Maybe
well.
one day, man.
Who knows? But she said it's a much lesser known author, so she said I
Yeah,
don't ever anticipate her movies being made into books, but
you
maybe
never know.
Lifetime or Hallmark because
Oh, it's one of those kind of It's one of those kind of books.
like young adult, high school, romantical, as I like to say.
Okay.
But no, Where the Crawdads Sing was incredible. Such a unique, creative story.
Uh,
It was great. Highly, highly recommend it. I'll probably talk about it once we watch the movie because you always hear people that read, "Oh, the book is so much better than the movie," and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. And of course, I don't read enough to really, be able to say one way or the other. So I'll be
yeah.
able to tell. I'll be able to tell on this one. So I am bummed a little bit though because I just read an hour or two ago that the movie was filmed in and around New Orleans.
Oh,
And I was
so you
like,
could have been
dang,
like, oh, you could have connected the dots.
yeah, because because we've not got to do it often, but we love being in places where there's TV shows or movies that we're familiar with.
Yeah,
And sometimes you can even do like a tour or just do your own exploring. I know
yeah,
even me and you have joked about, doing a podcast from Atlanta and being able to tour some of the Stranger Things, and I think
yeah,
maybe even might have been, is it Cobra Kai? Maybe I don't know. There's a
yeah. I
couple.
think a couple of them filmed there. Yeah,
So, but yeah, we love being in areas where certain films or shows were filmed, but unfortunately, didn't find out till after the fact that just about all of it was filmed near or New Orleans or right in New Orleans. But
that's
so
cool.
anyway, I've blabbed long. I told you I had a lot of pent up energy since I've
No,
not been
man,
able
this is
to.
this is great. This is great. This is great.
So, how about you? What you been streaming?
Honestly, I have I kind of talked about it last week with Steam, but I mean, honestly, the only thing I've really been having time for is Love is Blind. Um, and then of course, I watched
What, was
Twister.
it was it just me or was Steen kind of taken back by that?
She was kind
Like,
of shocked. She was shocked. She was. I did get her with that one because she was like, okay. Like I even got to see her face, so it was extra. It was extra amused. She was like, she had the whole thing. But yeah, then I got to watch the continuation of that, and then there's still I think the last one or two episodes left. And man, my opinion on some people changed. So I kind of like the way that they've released them this time because um me and like it kind of like allows you to like talk about it the way they're coming out in like a different way than I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess like the olden days, like when they released shows like one at a time, one a week. Um, but yeah, I'm enjoying that show. It's always fun. And then other than that, man, just I've just been jamming out to music and listening to podcasts and watching dumb YouTube videos. Nothing really much. But do you have anything that I mean, I'm sure you do because this movie I mean, I'm sure this is probably one of the few films that you and I both are very familiar with, I feel like, because I was about 8 or 9 when this movie came out. So this is my jam when I was a kid. Uh, I probably watched this 20 times within like the first year or two that it came out on VHS. And I can remember all like I can remember this being like the Flying Cow movie, like before it hit theaters and before anybody saw it. It was like, oh, that's the Flying Cows, and it was like featured in the trailers. Of course, we're talking about Twister, uh, released in 1996. Jeff, what can you tell me about this? Because I'm sure you have great information about it.
dude, this is another one of those movies, kind of like was Space Jam the last one we did together?
I think so. I think it
Okay,
was. Yeah.
similar to that, where there's just tons of information out there. And the funny thing was, I usually stick with like trivia and interesting facts, tidbits, or whatnot. But as you know, anytime you're researching a movie, there's always a section of goofs.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't generally spend a lot of time on that unless it's a movie where there's just not a lot of facts or trivia. So I had plenty of that for Twister. So, but I just happened to look at the goose, and dude, there's like several pages. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way I'm going to read through all that. I've got plenty of information,
Yeah, I'm
but
sure.
a lot of it was just because I don't know how much of it is fairly categorized as goose because it's a movie meant for entertainment. So they're like, well, scientifically,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
during a tornado. So to me, there wasn't necessarily a lot of goofs as it was. It's just, I mean, it was, glamorized, Hollywoodized, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. But anyway, so yes, I usually start with the cast. So I won't change that up. But the main character, Helen Hunt, who played Dr. Joe Harding.
Yeah.
Most people probably know her from her days on Mad About You. She won multiple Emmy Awards for that role.
Okay,
She
can I just
also,
say real quick, I haven't really watched this movie in a long time, honestly.
yeah, this
And
is
I
my
can
first time probably in about 15, 20 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, I probably watched it. I mean, maybe like when I was in high school, it was probably doing like a TNT run, But um, I remember Helen Hunt being, of course I was younger, but I can remember her being a lot older in this movie. And I guess now that I'm in my like 30s, and I've never found Helen Hunt more attractive than I did watching this movie. I was like, Helen Hunt, I see you in a new light now in that tank top, girl. But yeah, go on. Sorry, I just had to point that out.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, she played in some other roles. Peggy Sue Got Married, As Good as
Mhm.
It Gets, which she actually won an Academy Award for.
Yeah.
Pay It Forward, What Women Want, Castaway, Soul Surfer. And of course, she's done a lot of TV work. That's probably what she was predominantly known for. And then, of course, like a lot of actors and actresses, she's gotten a lot into producing and directing as she's gotten older. And actually, the director, I'll probably mispronounce the name. I'm just going to say John DeBont, didn't generally like working with actors, kind of like A-list actors because of their demanding nature and diva behavior. Uh, prefers to go with the lesser known actors, because he he didn't want to draw away from the attention of the main star, which was the Tornadoes.
Yeah.
I guess at the time, Helen Hunt maybe wasn't considered an A-list because she was mainly, known for sitcoms.
Hmm.
But he said that it was the hardest actor to cast because, I mean, he knew he wanted her because of her strong persona, her ability to boss people around. However, the studio was puzzled over this choice, so they required him to hold additional auditions.
Uh-huh.
So he basically just went through the motions. He said it was kind of embarrassing since I had to tell every actress who turned up that he'd already chose Hunt.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So,
That would
so
suck.
of course he went to the studio. Was like, hey, I was unable to find a more suitable actress than Helen Hunt. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that made him go through jump through hoops and stuff. So the next big one was obviously Bill Paxton, who played Bill Harding, or as I like to call him, the Tornado Whisperer.
Yeah.
Of course, he was in Aliens, Apollo 13, Hatfields and McCoys. Did you watch Hatfields and McCoys? It was like a mini series.
Dude, I did. Well, at least I remember watching like the first couple of episodes. I think I wound up missing like one of them, and then I just never caught back up with it
Okay.
because it was, going on at this, like they were dropping like one a week or whatever. And it was like a
Okay.
limited run. So and I just never caught back up. But
It
yeah.
was it was fantastic. I highly
Yeah.
recommend that one. He's also in Tombstone, Terminator, and a little interesting fact: he was the only actor to have been killed by a Terminator, an alien, a predator, the Grim Reaper, and a serial killer.
Oh, nice.
He's the only. That sounds like a baseball stat since they are always coming with all these wacky stats. And he actually almost got the lead role in 1990's Darkman or Darkman. He told his friend Liam Neeson about his audition, and guess who got the role?
Liam Neeson. I love Darkman.
Neeson.
That was Sam Raimi.
Paxton was so angry that he did not speak to Neeson for months.
Yeah.
So, of course, fast forward, we're in 2023, and unfortunately, Bill Paxton passed away way too soon at the age of 62 back in 2017. A cool thing, though, after he died in 2017, the Spotter Network choreographed 200 storm chasers to spell out BP with their GPS tracker blips on a radar display to honor him.
That's cool.
I said that kind of tribute's only been done like 5 times, and it was first time it was done for someone who wasn't an actual storm chaser. So another thing with Bill Harding, the original choice for the role of Bill Harding was a big A-lister by the name of Tom Hanks. I mean, he read lines with the cast. He chose the character's wardrobe, which actually stayed in the final film, but he actually dropped out at pre-production. So he just didn't think it was the best fit for him as far as where he was going with his career. But he says, but let me tell you, someone I worked with on Apollo 13, his name's Bill Paxton, I think would be a great fit. So there you go. Bill Paxton got it.
And then he wound up working with Helen Hunt later on with Castaway.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dots between Helen Hunt and some other guys that were speaking of Helen Hunt, some other guys that were up for the running, Mel Gibson, which, what women want.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, Dennis Quaid, John Travolta, Richard Gere, John Cusack, Nicolas Cage, Bruce Willis, Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, and Michael Keaton. So
pretty much everybody that was in the 90s.
So they all the big names were considered. So I mean, there was a lot of hype for this movie, as you mentioned. I mean, you remember very well. I was already 20 at the time, but I do remember a lot about this movie. I'll only mention 2 other characters, even though there's quite a large cast in this one. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, you strike me as a type that's probably a big fan of his.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love him in like everything that I've seen him in. He's not somebody that I seek out, but he's one of those people that every time I'm like, he elevates everything that he's in. Yeah. In Hunger Games, like loved him in Hunger Games. He was great.
Yeah, he's definitely the one. He's not necessarily often the lead.
Yeah.
But man, you talk about someone that makes the most of their role.
Yeah. In Capote, he was a lead and he was great.
So it's just like you remember him and his character. And he's another guy we lost way too soon. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 46. Some very interesting names that were mentioned as possible people to play the role of Dustin Davis.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's on the internet, so you can't always trust, but I'll throw it out there. Garth Brooks.
Okay.
Mark Cuban.
Okay.
The owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
And Chris Farley. Chris Farley kind of makes sense, but the other 2 were to me totally out of left field.
You know who I was thinking when I was watching it, they would have played that role great of Dusty.
Who's that?
Jack Black.
Oh,
Jack Black would have played it great, especially like during like that age. But like, I could see Garth Brooks because I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when Garth Brooks was doing his Chris Gaines phase, and he was gonna do he was gonna star in a movie about the life of Chris Gaines. And it was going to be like some pop star or whatever. And that was what the album was about. So he released an album as Chris Gaines, the character. And it was like, and he had like the emo like hair, and I can remember it and everything. You should look it up, dude. Look up Chris Gaines. Great stuff. But yeah. Go on. Sorry about.
Oh, you're good. Just don't worry. I'll interrupt your recap too. So
I know you will.
I'll be fair. The last character I'll mention is we've talked about him before. Mr. Alan Ruck, who played Rabbit, which was his nickname. He was on their team. Obviously, most people know him from Ferris Bueller. But Parker, what else have we covered on our podcast that featured Mr. Alan Ruck?
Oh, I know this. I know this because oh my gosh, it was on the tip of my tongue because I was going to bring it up. But now that I'm on the spot, I'm not going to think about it. So you might as well.
That's fine. Yes. It was Sierra Burgess is a loser.
Yes.
That was my pick. You hated it. I loved it. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So we're past the characters. Let's start getting some good stuff. I'm going to try to fly through these because I don't want to take up all of our time just with facts. But anyway, obviously the movie did pretty well.
Yeah.
Budget of $92 million, box office $496 million. Pretty good profit. They received 2 Academy Award nominations for sound and visual effects. And you had mentioned VHS, which ironically, this was the very first movie in the history of entertainment to be
Mhm.
released on DVD.
Yep.
And the last one released on HD DVD.
Yep.
So
I
I
actually knew
guess
that. That's cool.
so this was probably before your time, but like obviously, you had HD DVD and Blu-ray,
Yeah.
and
No, I do
Blu-ray
remember this. I remember this.
and Blu-ray won the battle. But you remember like VHS versus Beta?
No, but I do remember the stories. So I
Okay.
know. Yeah. I didn't know that it existed. And I was also familiar with Laserdisc. Like I did like my aunt and my uncle, like they had a Laserdisc player. So I actually got to see like Laserdisc. Like that was pretty cool.
Okay.
Um
Sweet.
so I got to see a little bit of that stuff, but I never actually saw a beta player. So
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I just remember, going to the video rental store. You had two different versions, and I always knew we had
uh
to pick VHS. So,
yeah.
but yeah, it was kind of like HD DVD. Beta didn't last very long. VHS kind of took over. But so this movie was actually originally shot as an R-rated film that featured quite a bit more profanity and grislier wound details, which
Yeah.
would have been interesting to see. But it was actually edited down to a PG-13 in post-production, which caused additional scenes with Carrie Ellis and
Yeah.
Philip Seymour to be left on the cutting room floor due to content alone. And of course, there were other profanities throughout the film that were muted or replaced to secure the PG-13 rating, which, like most cases, I'm sure that helped their overall box office.
Yeah.
But which I'm not sure. I wonder if the DVD, if they had like the rated R version on the
Like an
DVD.
unrated version.
Yeah, that would be interesting, especially this type of movie. You figure they can get pretty grisly and gory with some of the wounds and stuff.
That would be. I wish, dude, if it's out there, I want to see it.
Yeah,
I definitely want to see that.
It would definitely be interesting. So in case you didn't know, there's actually a sequel coming out, Twisters.
Really?
Yeah, set to release July 2024. Young lady girl, Daisy Edgar Jones has been cast. And guess what else she starred in?
What?
Where the Crawdads Sing. So how
Okay.
about that? It's cool that I just
Made that
listened to that
connection.
book. Yep. So a gentleman named Michael Crichton and his wife Anne Marie Martin were paid $2 million for this script, which at the time made it the single most expensive screenplay ever purchased.
Okay.
So yeah. And the project was actually a co-production, which I'm not sure how often this happens. I thought it was kind of odd, but it was a tag team effort between Universal Pictures and Warner Brothers Pictures.
Huh.
Which is why in the drive-in, the marquee show Psycho, a Universal release, and The Shining, a Warner Brothers release.
Cool.
So, all right. So
I didn't make that connection.
I definitely didn't either. I'm not good with details as far as which movie belongs to which production company and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, I am a little bit later, like with things that were like released in my time. But yeah, things that were released before me, probably not. I'll probably get them wrong most of the time.
all right. Well, obviously, since the movie primary character is tornadoes, there's a lot of references that are connections to another popular tornado movie in 1939 called The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The film's flashback scene shows a young Joe having the same breed of dog as Dorothy's Toto.
Yeah.
Of course, the research device is named Dorothy. And an even odder connection is in the scene right before Aunt Meg's house gets hit by the tornado. You can see a movie playing on her TV, which is the movie A Star Is Born. And it's the actress Judy Garland. Of course,
cool.
plays Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Don't know if that was intentional, but I'm thinking it probably was.
Did you know so did you know that this is actually, I don't know if this is in your tidbits, but I actually just know this little bit of trivia. So I just want to be like, I just want to feel special for a moment.
Sure, throw it out there.
Did you know that the little thing that they were talking about with Dorothy with the sensors, that was actually like a real thing that they had made in the 90s? And you know what the original device was called? It wasn't called Dorothy, but you want to know what it's called?
Toto.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You did know. Did you know it?
No, I just figured it was
good. Yeah, that was a good guess.
I figured it'd be a good guess if it wasn't Dorothy, that had to be Toto. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was actually that. I mean, definitely, I don't think the way it happened is like the real thing, but like that device was actually based on a real thing. Because I remember seeing like a little. I don't know if it was actually like, it might have been like one of the special features that like at the end. Like, you remember how they used to do things like that, on VHS tapes where they would have like special features at the end of it, like when they were
Yeah.
starting to like bring out DVDs and releasing special features, but they would, include them at the end of a VHS. I think it was like one of those, like where it
Oh,
was
okay.
like the real Storm Hunters, or whatever. So it was like,
Okay. Yeah.
but it was like, yeah, it was like showing us Toto and like the thing that it was based on. But yeah.
Cool deal. So, on a sadder note, filming, of course, took place in Oklahoma, and filming was briefly delayed due to the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City on April 19th, 1995. And many of the crew actually went to the site to help with recovery efforts.
Oh wow.
So, cool connection there. Did you watch this movie just recently with like headphones and stuff?
I didn't watch it with headphones this time. No.
Okay. So obviously, this movie is known for its sound.
Yeah.
I'd love for it to be re-released with today's technology. I can
Yeah.
imagine what it would sound like. So I listened to it with headphones, so it was no surprise. This next little interesting tidbit: the film was notorious for destroying or damaging surround speakers in theaters worldwide because of the bass heavy, tones and stuff. So, do you want to take a wild guess at what they used to make the sound of the tornado?
A train.
Nope, it was a recording of a camel's moan was slowed down.
Okay.
Like, so
That
there
was my
you
second
go.
guess.
So, as you can imagine, I'm actually a little surprised that the budget was only, what did I say, about like 95 or not 92 million.
Yeah.
That actually surprised, which I know it's in 96. So, today that's probably close to 150, 200 million. But so the production bought 8 blocks of houses in the old downtown area of the real town of Wakita, Oklahoma, for
Mhm.
about 7 to 10 grand per house. These houses and additional 30 homes built by the production team were subsequently demolished by the film's crew for the scenes after the Twister passes.
Yeah.
The town later rebuilt the downtown area and also kept the new fire truck used in the film.
Oh, cool.
Kudos to them. The scene where the explosion of the oil tanker was actually originally mistimed and was not caught on film. DeBont decided not to tell the studio immediately, and the stunt was reset and filmed again, costing a rumored $500,000. Ouch.
Oh, dang.
So, actually, the beginning of the movie, it was Steven Spielberg's idea to kill off the father in the opening scene. Originally, he would have survived, but it was decided his death would establish how dangerous tornadoes can be and the reason for Joe's obsession with them later in life.
Yeah.
Now, I'm almost done, so don't worry. But knowing your personality, this next tidbit, I think it's going to be your favorite interesting fact on this movie.
All right.
In an early scene, when Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is sitting on a lawn chair, he lifts his left leg in the air
I already know.
while laughing. Well, his genitals were fully visible for a split second, and it was edited out of the DVD and VHS releases, but it was leaked from some VHS screeners and sent to industry professionals.
That's great.
You actually do that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'd heard that one. Yeah, that one's funny. But definitely, that is definitely one of my favorite tidbits, and I was hoping that you were bringing that up.
Yeah. Don't lie. You probably Googled, where are men's genitals shown in a natural disaster movie?
I mean, that was one of the reasons I picked this film, honestly. Um,
All right, my last tidbit,
okay.
and then we'll get into your recap, and I will constantly
Philip Seymour
interrupt you.
Hoffman's tidbits.
So I didn't really notice this. I didn't pay enough attention, but Dustin is wearing an OU University of Oklahoma hat.
Uh-huh.
And the reason producers chose that hat was because they did it out of spite, because OU would not let them use the OU symbol on Dorothy.
Huh.
So like, screw you, we'll throw it on a hat instead. So there you go.
I would probably figure out who their rival was and put it on there instead.
There you go.
Be supporting them.
And believe it or not, I deleted a lot of interesting tidbits that I noted down.
I do believe it.
Because I was like, I've got to scale this down.
I do believe it because, I mean, not because number one, you do great research, but number two, I knew there was a lot to talk about this film, but because I remember there being like a big deal about it, and I remember like this being like a big film with like the sound, but also with a big thing in like the computer, animations that did with like the tornadoes and the cows and everything else, and like it just being like a big deal, like with everything.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't even do a lot of research. I didn't get past my first resource. I'm like, I've already got way too much. I better stop here.
Yeah, I totally believe it. But all right. Well, this is the part of the podcast where I will recap the film completely from memory, where I'm probably gonna, even though as many times as I've seen this film, probably gonna skip quite a few things on this one, even though the last one I did pretty well on, and I'd only seen it like once or twice. So here we go. And then Jeff is going to grade me on a scale of A+ to F, with, of course, A+ being the best and F being a complete failure. So this one, Twister.
With full privilege to interrupt you whenever I want to throw
exactly. You off. Yep. You are the child that will throw off the kid with ADD and completely throw him off a track, and it works almost every time. So that will be saying that a lot. Yeah, so we start out, it is, I think it was June 1969. We are in Oklahoma on this little farm. It's storming. We hear some reports on the TVs about a tornado. So the dad, who is I think he's the dad from like Varsity Blues, anyways, he's like one of the dads from Varsity Blues. That's the only thing I know him from. And
did you know that they incorrectly had the TV display the words tornado warning when that term was not invented until 1974?
Really?
In 69, they would have just said tornado alert.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Plus, her dad mentioned the F5.
Yeah.
And that scale was not introduced until 1971. So, like her dad was already looking into the future. So,
yeah, they had a TV that told them the future.
Yeah,
so that's fine. And then we got little baby Helen Hunt. She's asleep in bed. I think she was played by one of the Spy Kids too, if I remember correctly.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then they all three go down into the storm cellar. Toby the dog is still outside, so the dad goes and lets him in. The tornado comes over and the door is starting to rattle, so the dad decides to go over and hold the door shut, and the door gets ripped off its hinges and sucks him and the door up into the tornado, and never to be seen again. And which I never, even when I watched this part as a kid, I was always like, if he would have just stayed with his family, everything would have been fine, and like nobody would have been sucked up at all. Like it's just as much his fault as it is the tornadoes.
It's funny you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing. And you know how I told you I just kind of glanced over the goofs. That was one of the goofs they mentioned.
Yeah,
it was like, why is the dad holding the door? Obviously, with the door ripped open, all you gotta do is stand towards the back of your room, and you're perfectly fine.
Right,
like defeated the whole purpose. So.
Right. Even his like 3-foot daughter was like halfway like to the door, trying to reach for him, like go after him, and like wasn't even getting like lifted off the ground. So he would have been totally fine. Even the dog was fine.
I mean, you would think for somebody that sees the future, he would have known.
Right.
Don't grab the door head.
Maybe he knew he had to sacrifice himself in order for his daughter to become a storm chaser.
That's true. He had to, I guess, provide that motivation and inspiration, I guess.
Exactly. So we get into the future. We see Bill Paxton, him and his fiance are heading out to go meet Helen Hunt, she is all grown up now. She has a team of storm chasers. Him and Joe, who is Helen Hunt, they are still technically married, so he's trying to get her to sign some divorce papers so that him and his fiance can get married. And she's a therapist. She's getting phone calls this whole time. It's kind of like one of the comedic reliefs in the film. And they arrive, and Helen Hunt's being kind of difficult about it. She shows Bill Paxton about Dorothy, which is the storm. It's like this advanced tornado data receiver thing, exact sensors. It explains it better, but I'm not exactly 100% sure on that. I'm not a weatherman. Um, and I'm kind of dumb on that stuff. So I don't know that one, but um, they're trying to get it up in the air, and they find out that Carrie Ellis, he also has one. He's this other storm tracer. He's like a rival team. He's got like corporate sponsors, so he's like the bad guy because he's sold out. Um, which I mean, good for him. He's got the fat flashy gear. He
That's
didn't know
right.
what he was doing, but I mean, I don't blame the guy for, but I mean, it's money, like what like, it's only gonna help you do, like he's literally trying to do the same exact thing. Like it doesn't matter who gets the information as long as it gets done. I never really understood why he was the bad guy for it. I mean, I guess for still in the idea, but as long as it's getting done.
Yeah, I read someone say something pretty funny. They were like, they're down in this guy because of his corporate sponsors, but yet the other side is every chance they get, they're throwing Pepsi up there, and they even use Pepsi cans to
Right.
put the wings on the little sensors. And
Yeah.
but yeah, like you said, I'm like, if we're being factual, people don't use tornado whisperers
Yeah.
like this Bill Harding guy. They used
Yeah.
all the technology and everything that Jonas was doing. That
Exactly.
that's how, and of course you'll get to it later, but they kind of see a little bit of that towards the end, as far as, hey, the important thing is we get the information and the research that we need.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so Bill Paxton, he's all, upset because this was his idea. So he feels like Carrie Ellis stole it. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna join you guys and for one day because there's this big group of storms coming in. It's gonna have a whole bunch of tornadoes. So they so he's like, you got me for one day. We're gonna try to get this up in the air. So they're heading out, and this is where I'm gonna mess up because there's some tornadoes that happen, and I'm gonna get them in the wrong order, but I'm gonna try. So the first one happens, and they go after it. They're in Joe's truck, who's Helen Hunt. Her and Bill Paxton are in her truck. They're heading out toward the tornado. They get it stuck in a ditch, and they hide under a bridge, and the truck gets picked up and demolished. So that's one Dorothy down, which they have four Dorothys, by the way. That's how I'm going to try to keep track of this, but it's probably still not going to help. So that's one Dorothy down, and then they kind of regroup for a little bit at the diner. Um, they chill out for a little bit, and then they go. And is this when they eat? That's not when they meet with Meg, because they go and they see another tornado first, and that's when they have like the three tornado. No, oh, the truck drops right in front of his fiance. I forgot about that, and it freaks her out because she swerves and almost gets hit, and then they're riding in. They're all three riding in Bill Paxton's truck, and they are heading, and they see a tornado start to drop, so they go and chase after it. They have a Dorothy in his truck now, and they see this tornado starts to drop over some water, so they go after it. and then it splits into two. So now they have like three tornadoes surrounding them while they're on this tiny little road in the middle of the water, which was so man that it with no barriers. Like, dude, that gave me anxiety just watching them drive on it without a tornado. Ah, man, that would it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm about to share some stuff now. So I don't know about you, but do you have any like recurring nightmares? Not like
a
not like
few,
like like you have them every night or anything like that, but it's just
yeah.
like the nightmares you do have. Is there a consistent theme on any of them?
Um, not normally, but there are dreams that I've literally repeated that were like scary dreams. Um, so I've definitely had reoccurring nightmares. Yeah, like recurring nightmares.
Yeah, I've only had two different ones, and one of them always involves tornadoes. Not
Oh
sure
man,
why. I mean, I know when I was a kid, I was like terrified of them because you know they're unpredictable. You know, a
yeah.
hurricane you track several days and weeks out. A tornado, it's like bam, and plus we had this. Actually, there was two incidents when I was a kid. I was probably early middle school, so I was probably in middle school, and we had some bad weather rolling through, and my dad wasn't home at the time, so it was just me, my mom, and my sister.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, we hear this big train sound.
Yeah.
So of course, we're like, "Holy crap!" So we're freaking out. We're in the hallway. You're just your normal what school tornado drills where you're in the
Yeah.
hallway covering your head, and we're crying. We're like all freaked out, and then it's like the noise stops. We're trying to call my dad, and he's trying to get home, and he's like, and then it happened again, like just a week or two later.
Oh man.
Long story short, it was the attic fan causing that train, like literally. So there was no tornado, but boy, it freaked me out for life. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
that's if I have a nightmare, which I don't have them often, it usually involves a tornado. And so actually when I was watching the movie, I think I watched it last night.
Uh-huh.
When I first started it, I'm like, oh man, this is really going to trigger some nightmares. I haven't watched a tornado movie in I don't know how long, but
Yeah.
I slept good last night. I don't remember any nightmares or bad dreams, so
Good.
a good
Good.
deal.
I'm sure. I'm sure
But yeah,
Stephanie
that
probably
was a freaky scene for sure.
has. I'm sure Stephanie probably has some bruises she doesn't know. She doesn't understand why she has them. She's like, "Where did this bruise come from?"
Yeah,
We
for
know it's
sure.
because your tornado nightmares.
Mhm.
Um. So. So after this, that's when they go and they decide to. It's time to go get some food. So they go and they visit Aunt Meg. She's close by. Um, and she's great. She feeds everybody. They go in to get showers. They all feel better. Um, and we start to notice, like, there's a little thing between Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton still. They're starting to get their little flirt on, a little tension. And then that they hear that there's is this where another tornado is?
Yeah, they catch wind of another one, and
Yeah, they catch wind of another one, so they take off and they head out to go, and that's when they break away from Bill Paxton senses that the tornado is going to shift, so they break away and go the other way from Carrie Ellis's team, and they get ahead of it. And trying to think of what this tornado does. Which one is this one? This is a bigger one.
well, was this the one that hit the drive-in movie theater?
No, this isn't that one.
Okay.
They went and chased one. And I think maybe this one just sucked up before they could do anything with it. Is that it? I think
I know there was one like that.
yeah. I'm thinking it might be this one because I don't think anything happened with it. And then or maybe is this the one where it shifted and Carrie Ellis dies? Was it
Uh,
that one?
it's possible. I don't know.
Well,
There were so many. I can't.
yeah.
I lose track as far as the order.
I know. That's the part that I knew I was going to screw up on. Like I knew I was going to get so good on everything else but anyways, um, that happened. And then that's when they decided like, let's go, have an easy night at the drive-in. So they go and they're at the drive-in, and then that's when they're having a double feature there. It's The Shining and Psycho. And while The Shining is going on, a tornado comes through, and it was, nobody was expecting it, kind of happened out of nowhere, and they all survive. They're in the building while and it gets wrecked. And that's when Bill Paxton's fiance is like, I'm done, I'm out, and she's not even mad about it. She's just like, I'm out. And so they go, and that's when they find out that Aunt Meg is her house has been destroyed as well. They go and they find her. She's still alive, but they're going to the hospital. And then that's when they kick it into overdrive, and they go and they find there's this other tornado that's dropping down, and it's supposed to be a huge one. And that's the F5. And they basically, like, this is the big showdown, and this is like where all the action happens, and they're like driving through houses, and uh they finally figure out that like the best way to do it is it's gonna have to like stay in the air um through the truck. So they leave it set up on the truck, and they get it up in the air, and then the tornado's coming towards them. So Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, they take off running. They go hide in a barn. They put this leather belt around their waist and tie themselves to a pipe, and they get the tornado comes and sucks everything else around them. Somehow they don't hit, if any debris hits them like somehow, and the leather belts don't break. They get sucked up into the air like there's no gravity. Helen Hunt gets to see in the middle of the tornado in the eye of it, and she has like a little moment with, of peace with herself, and they survive, and they realize that they love each other, and the end.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that was difficult, especially with so many scenes were very similar as far as they're just different tornadoes. So try to remember to put them in order. So
yeah,
I'm gonna pull a little Steen. No, I'm not gonna start off with an A plus. I don't do A pluses. Not that I won't do one, but it's difficult. I'm gonna give you a solid A.
All right.
So let's just hope.
Thank you. I'm doing good this month. Natural disaster is so far it's a good semester.
Well, I mean, lucky for you, as long as
I'm not doing good in this class.
Yeah, as long as I don't have a plot pulled up to where I can. So with my memory, your chances of you doing worse than a B are very slim.
Well, thank you. So Jeff,
solid A.
Thank you. What did you think about Twister, man? Like, what I know you probably have, I mean, other than your fear of it, like, that set aside, what did you think about this movie?
It's a weird fear because,
and you know what, I'll let you do the rating scale too, because you were absent, so you can pick what we're rating these out of today.
Okay. But like I said, it's a weird fear because I find tornadoes so fascinating.
Yeah.
And interesting. And there is a little part of me, as long as I could be assured of my safety, I think it would be cool to see one in person. Again, now I don't want to chance that.
Well, yeah, that's the part that's scary.
Yeah, but so man, what is our scale going to be today? I always forget to. All right, I got it. Out of 5 camels.
All right.
They use a camel's moan.
5 moaning camels.
Or yeah, five. There you go. Five moaning camels. Uh, so it's been a long time since I've watched this movie. I've shared before that I'm not really big on rewatching movies. So I'm not like
Yeah.
you where I watched it several times. I probably saw it at most twice, and they were probably both within 96 through 98, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And again, like you, I remember it being a big deal. It's not one of those movies that I feel like you almost have to grade it through the lens of the time period,
Yeah.
because this movie was incredible in 1996 as far and in my opinion it still ages really well.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it in theaters now with advanced technology as far as the sound and
I think they have maybe re-released it once or twice. I feel like they maybe have.
like even like in the 4DX that I just did for Scream. I wonder what that
Oh
would be
man,
like.
that would be cool. The fans would be turned up high the whole time.
Your chair starts spinning around.
Yeah.
Everybody's puking up popcorn and nachos. But so yeah, I still think the movie ages very well. What did you think of his fiance's character?
I think, well, what's funny about it is I was watching this and I was like, man, our opinions on therapists have came a long way because
Yes.
because she was like a joke in the movie, but I'm like, man, like he was like offended. He was like, I'm not saying she's like, I'm not saying you need therapy, and I'm like, man, like that's like totally the opposite opinion about what. And they actually, I was like, man, y'all all need therapy, honestly.
Yeah, it's like I actually thought the exact same thing when that scene. That's probably one of the sections that didn't age well.
Yeah,
Because that's the stereotype that we've been trying to fight for the last 20, 30 years, is that therapy is a sign of weakness,
Mhm.
especially for men.
Yeah,
So it's luckily we've made still got a long ways to go, but made huge strides in that area. But yeah, I didn't care much for her character. I know there was a big attempt at the humor,
yeah,
but I found the times that she was on her telephone just annoying. I didn't really find that funny, and I felt like they just kept doing it over and over. And I was like, "All right, we get it.
yeah,
Your clients are interrupting you while you're in the middle of a tornado or chasing a tornado." But I get why her character was necessary, just between the dynamic of um, Joe and Bill,
yeah,
being divorced and him trying to get remarried. And, she was a jerk at the beginning, as far as
yeah.
purposely stalling to not hand over the papers and not sign the last page and all that. But I think the only really purpose her character served, and I think I even read this because I'm kind of thinking the same thing. She's the one that's asking all the questions that viewers would probably need to ask,
Oh yeah,
that aren't familiar with all the science behind tornadoes and just the
she's our
natural.
proxy.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
they're having to answer her questions, which in turn also keeps the audience, I guess,
that makes total sense.
involved. So from that standpoint, I see it's necessary. I still didn't love her character, so I would probably knock that a little bit. So having said all that, I'm going to give this a very solid 3.5 moaning camels.
All right.
Still a great movie. Like I said, for the most part, I think it aged pretty well. I would love to see it re-release. Love to see it in theaters. I'm pretty sure when I did see it, it was not in the theaters. Um, so even though this is one of my recurring nightmares, but oddly enough, as I've gotten older, I'm not scared of storms. I actually enjoy a good thunderstorm, and
Yeah,
even when there's a tornado watch, I'm not really bothered by it because I know the chances of you getting hit by one are still very, very, very slim.
yeah.
But so anyway, what does
Nice.
Mr. Parker think about? Oh, we forgot to do the guess, so we won't worry about the guessing since you didn't guess mine. So
All right, all right. We'll do it next time. Um, so actually, I was actually really close to a tornado. I've actually been like less than a mile from a tornado. One night I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just like, and I just kind of had that feeling. I get up and I look and the sky, like it's in the middle of the night and the skies are just green. And I was just like, oh no. Like I kind of got like the hair on the back of my neck stood up and got everybody in the house in the closet. And yeah, freaked out. Um, but yeah, everybody was okay as far as we were concerned, and yeah, but that's not what I thought about this film. So, um, yeah, actually, so I'm rating this as a natural disaster film, and I mean, man, this one is pretty perfect, honestly. Like, I don't know, like it. So for me, like a natural disaster film, of course it's got to have be a natural disaster, but it's also got to be have like a little bit of that B movie quality to it, and this one does that, with like the way that the tornadoes kind of have like personalities, like you said, like they each have like their own, they're like I don't know, they're each different characters. You know what I mean? Like you got like this the one that's the sisters, and then you got like oh it was just a little the F1, the F2s, the F3s, and then you got the big big bad daddy, the F5, the finger of God at the end. Like the one that no one's even allowed to talk about. It's like it's like Voldemort. In the land of in the land of fucking storm chasers. Like you say F5 and everybody just gasps and stares at you. Um, like,
You would have thought she
uh,
said Beetlejuice or something.
right, right, exactly. Like, oh man. So, so, she, yeah. So I'm sorry, I totally spaced out. And, but like, yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, it's all goofy and silly. But I don't even know that necessarily that they meant to do it at the time, which is makes it even better, in my opinion. But I actually have a lot of fun with this, and I did not think that I was gonna like it as much as I did because like you, I have not seen this, and I've seen it a lot more than you had back when it was released. Because like when you would go over to like a friend's house, and we were going to friends' houses, people were coming over like every weekend. We were going somewhere, someone was coming over, so like we were always getting movies, and like of course parents got Twister like in the group of movies like every night for like or every weekend for probably like 6 or 7 months. You know what I'm saying? Because they wanted to watch it, or et cetera, et cetera. Um, so yeah, uh, but I had a lot of fun with it this time. I thought I was gonna hate it. I thought it was gonna be a lot cornier. And when it was corny, I enjoyed it. I really did. It was actually not the bad kind of corny. It was like the one that I actually enjoyed. And her character was really annoying. I do agree. Um, and I don't know if it was just the person playing her or like her over the top accent or what it is, but or like her voice. And I hate to talk about people's voice because they can't really control it, but her voice was really grating. And I know we're not supposed to like her too much because we don't want to feel bad for them two getting together. We kind of want to root for them at the same time. We don't want to like her too much, and feel too sympathetic for her. But you know, um, she is annoying. But the one thing that I will kind of say that I didn't like that you didn't touch on was so like I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but it's called like ADR, and it's where they go back and record lines that maybe they didn't get good audio for in the original recording. And so they'll go back and they'll record like in the booth, like, kind of like what we're doing right now. And they'll have the actors like say the lines again to match them up to what they're saying. And there's a few times where this in this film, and I can even remember this, like noticing this kind of thing like when I was a kid, that like the ADR just doesn't like they were saying the lines and they were saying like it wasn't even things that they could like where you were saying like where they maybe like edited out the language or anything, but like the words just like didn't really match up with like the way they were saying it, like their expression and the way that they were saying it, and like the tone was just like the way it didn't match up with like their expression and stuff. I was just kind of weird. So things like that are just kind of sloppy. But with that being said, I'm going on a rant and rambling here now. I am going to give this a 4. Um, Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I mean, I feel like with natural disasters, it's so easy to make it like a really bad one. And I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've seen a lot of boring ones. I've seen a lot of ones that go on way too long, where I'm just like, okay, we get it, we get it, we get it. But with this, like, even though there are, like, even though we couldn't like put them in order with the tornadoes, like every one of them, like the way it was paced was very, very fun and very, I was intrigued the whole time. And it's one of those ones like I'm like I'm gonna have to come back and watch Twister again, more than just this time for the podcast. So yeah, I'll give it a 4 moaning camels, Jeff.
Yeah, I, and you kind of alluded to it. I think the pacing was excellent because
Yeah.
you don't go a lot of time in between tornadoes. So,
Right.
a lot of people that love the action flick, they're like, man, they're spending too much time on this whole love triangle or this and that. And I felt like they spent just enough time to tackle all the little side plots that was required or needed before. And of course, the movie more or less in real time happens within like a 24-hour period. So it's not like the next day or 2 days there's another tornado. I mean, it's which is realistic in a lot of ways, especially in Tornado Alley. They could have a huge outbreak and there's just like tons of tornadoes within 24-hour period. So
Yeah.
the pacing was done really well. Like you said, I mean, it's just tornado after tornado, and in those brief quiet moments, they're tackling advancing the story like they need to. So yeah, I'd agree. It was a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so much fun. Yeah, so it's like what, an average of 3.75. So yeah, that's not bad at all, man. I'm having a lot of fun this month. Two really good movies so far. I know you say you didn't watch Contagion, but I definitely recommend, man. Go back and watch it. It's pretty cool. It's a good movie. It's definitely a good watch and a lot of good acting in it. So you'll have fun with it.
Cool.
Um, so Jeff, you get to pick next week, and what are we gonna watch?
All right. Before that, would you like to do a dude or dud?
Oh yeah, yeah, we sure do. I actually forgot to do that last week. So damn, sorry, Steen.
That's all right.
Um,
It's all good. Sometimes we forget. I'm sure we've had one or
we
two
do.
that.
We've done that. We've forgotten like 3 weeks in a row. One time, I think. Who is your dude or dud of the week?
All right. I mentioned him before, Mr. Dustin, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah,
Such a fun character. He's just one of those like, man, we all need a Dustin on our team. Uh, and like I said, I mean, Philip Hoffman, he's just one of those guys that you can give him 15 minutes of screen time and he is going to make the most of it. He's
yeah,
going to be one of the characters you remember. It's you mentioned Jack Black would have been great for that role, and man, but just Philip just did such a great job. It's just such a fun dude. It's just like, man, that's somebody I want to hang out with.
yeah.
And he just did phenomenal. So I'm gonna give him my dude of the week.
All right, man. I am gonna go with a dude of the week as well. I am gonna go with Aunt Meg because, man, I know everybody has that person, and they don't. Maybe they're not like a person that they're related to, but everybody knows that Aunt Meg. You know what I mean? Like where you can just pop up at her house at any time, and she's like, "I'm gonna throw you in what you want." Like, you know, it doesn't have to be like a female; it could be a male. You know what I mean? Like that person that will just get up and just make you whatever they got in their fridge, and we love those people because those people are great. Um, Everybody needs that Aunt Meg in their life. And if you don't have one, I'm so sorry because that's just really unfortunate. But maybe you are the Aunt Meg. If you don't have one, maybe you are the Aunt Meg. And if you are the Aunt Meg, the world's better with you being in it.
Yeah, and invite us over anytime for steak and eggs.
Exactly. For real. If just email us for sure. All right. So Jeff, now now that
Actually,
What are we going to be watching next week?
Actually, instead of now, how about my random question of the week?
Okay, let's do that.
And luckily, you're the editor, so you can always edit this part out, and it's all good.
No, you're good. What do we got?
So I try to give you a heads up sometime on these because some of them are a little bit more thought provoking, or so I forgot to do that this time, but I don't think this one requires a lot of thought. But would you like to share your worst or a bad, doesn't matter, vacation or road trip experience?
My worst?
Or just a bad one? Doesn't have to be your worst.
Um, I will say there was one time where we we had a friend that had forgotten, like we didn't find out until that we were on the road that they had forgotten their money. And so we basically had to like pay for everything. Like me and my friend had to split their, like, because it was like three of us, and we had to split their everything for them pretty much the whole time. So it was like a big bummer because that was pretty much like all of our extra money. So like all of our extra money went to like supporting this person that wound up never paying us back. So
Wow.
that was my worst road trip experience.
Yeah, that
Pretty
sucks.
bummy.
And they didn't pay you back. That's
Yeah, and they didn't want to pay us back. So yeah.
man. You reckon that
Yeah.
was planned? Was it planned that way?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. What about you, man? What is your worst or bad story?
So I'm not sure if this is the worst, or maybe it is. And it just happened. So get this. We get to New Orleans and we got an Airbnb and we're pulling up and just right off the bat, it's in a very sketchy looking area, which I was somewhat prepared for. Because
Yeah.
even though this place it was reviewed extremely well on Airbnb, you know, if there was a negative comment, there were a few people that kind of said, hey, it is in a sketchy looking area. So, was kind of expecting that. So not a big deal.
Yeah.
So we get into the house. I mean, it's awesome on the inside. It's been updated, very nice, spacious, hot tub, the whole bit. So it's
Cool.
great. So, and I think we're getting ready to leave to go out for dinner. And there's pretty much only one accessible entrance into this place, and it's through the front door, and there's a storm door. So we go to leave, and the handle from the inside of the storm door just comes off.
Oh man.
And the part on the outside goes through far enough to where I can't get to it. And the door's in the lock mode because you can't turn the handle. So now there is a back door, that goes to like the hot tub and a courtyard area, but on both alleys, because there's houses really close to one another.
Yeah.
There's a wood gate that's locked from the outside.
Oh man.
So I couldn't say, I'm calling the owner saying, look, there's like, I'm stuck in this house. And there's like, oh, I'm pretty sure you go this way and the gate will open. I like FaceTime. I'm like, dude, I can see through the crease. There's a lock.
Yeah.
And so luckily one of the alleys did like dump out next to the front porch. So I had to scale up the front porch. So I could get the front storm door open.
Oh my gosh.
But it gets worse, Parker. It gets a little worse. So, they say, okay, we'll send somebody out to fix the door, blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's fine. I said, but you need to let me know exactly what time they're coming, because if we're up in this house and we hear someone fooling with the front door, we're gonna be freaking out, shooting somebody or something. You need to let us know. So they're like, yeah, okay, we'll let you know. So, we go out to dinner, and when we get back, we get in the house and we still haven't unpacked and stuff. And Steph was getting ready to roll because at the front of the house was a living room and, kitchen and a long hallway where you go to bedrooms and that kind of stuff. So she's getting ready to roll our big suitcase down the hall, and she just freezes, like a look of panic, like she's just in shock. And I can tell she can't speak. So I look down the hallway, and there's actually a unit connected to ours. And I mean, you could tell it was originally just one big house, and they just kind of sectioned it off. But there's just one door in the hallway that connects us to the other unit that stays locked. And the door don't even have like a door handle on it. So I mean, it's the type of door it is. It just stays locked. And now, luckily, it turned out that there was nobody in that unit, but that door is slammed wide open.
Oh man.
And we're like, what the hell? I mean, so I tell Steph to get back to the front of the house. I grab my gun and clear out every room in the house, thinking, is there somebody in our house? And looking under beds, checking closets. Man, my adrenaline was rushing. Didn't see anybody in the house. I mean, luckily the back door was still locked, and the only entrance into the unit that adjoins ours was locked as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I messaged the owner, said, you need to call me right now.
Yeah.
Because I told Steph, I'm like, at this point, they better give us a refund, and we're hightailing it to a safer hotel. But I get a hold of them, and they're like, oh yeah, our property manager stopped by and did notice that the front door was going to need a repairman. So she wanted to unlock that door, so in case you got stuck again, you could just go out the other unit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'd have been great information to tell me as soon as she did it. And the way the door was, and I maybe just it's slightly unlevel, when it's not locked, it sways open.
Oh, I gotcha.
So had it not swayed open, we would have had no idea that it was locked or unlocked.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have thought anything of it. But to come in, and plus the light from the other unit was on, so we see a light flashing in from an open door that's not supposed to be open. So
yeah, I bet that was kind of freaky.
Yeah, but so yeah,
did you still get your refund?
We stayed. Once we knew it wasn't because somebody. Because my thing is who has access to this place? That's what worried me.
Yeah,
I mean, even if it wasn't an intruder, but
somebody was sneaking in and watching you sleep.
Exactly. But, the explanation made. Their explanation made sense. So, still wasn't happy about it, but we stayed, didn't have any other problems while we were there as far as where we stayed at. Cool. Plus, I ain't giving up no hot tub if I ain't got to.
Oh, I feel you. I feel that. For sure, man. I feel you.
All right. So to conclude this way too long podcast, the next movie, and this is totally in dedication to my wife. It is a movie on Netflix called How It Ends.
Okay.
And it stars a gentleman named Theo James, who she has the biggest Hollywood crush on. He was the male lead in the Divergent movies. He played his name was Four. Yes, okay. Four, the number Four. But he's the main character, or one of the main characters in this movie. So she's probably gonna want to watch this one with me because it features him. So there you go. How It Ends on Netflix is our next movie.
All right, cool. And like, what is that? Like was this like an apocalypse type movie?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you, but
okay,
something like that. I don't know if it's more along the lines of an earthquake or the world is ending type thing. Or
cool, awesome. I like a good earthquake movie. I haven't kind of getting all of them so far this month. Like we've gotten disease, we got tornadoes, now we're getting earthquakes.
But if it's not earthquakes, don't hold me to it. But
I mean, I think it is. Maybe I haven't seen this one either, so it's kind of cool. We're also going from one we've all both been familiar with to one that neither one of us are familiar with. So cool. Awesome. Well, Jeff, if you want to check that out, just watch that, on Netflix, and check that out with us next week. Jeff, thank you so much for coming back and for joining me, man. I missed you. I'm so glad that you're back. Anything else you got to say before we get out of here?
Oh man, it's great to be back again. Thanks to Immediately Know for filling in. Maybe next time we can get both of them on, or maybe they can join us. Maybe we can join them. Their content kind of does what I know, like a lot of true crime type stuff.
Yeah,
maybe
some paranormal stuff too. Yeah.
paranormal, true crime. I actually started listening to their podcast today. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Free plug in for them. But yeah, Steen did a great job. And my life advice: don't collect things, collect experiences and memories.
Yeah.
So we love to travel. We love to have experiences and memories. How about you, Parker? What are you going to end us with?
Yeah, I didn't travel. I was literally here the whole time. So, but I definitely was collecting experiences nonetheless. Yeah, man. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I just want to echo everybody, echo Jeff, and say thanks to everybody. Yeah, thanks to Immediately Know again for helping us out last week. We really do appreciate that. Thanks to everybody for listening. We really do appreciate that. Thanks for supporting us. If you do want to support us further, you can do so by checking out our Patreon down in the show notes. Link to that can go help us financially there. If you can't help us financially, we do understand. There is ways that you can do that by not, spending a cent. You can give us a one-time rating and review on whatever podcast you are listening to, and you can always make sure that you are subscribed so that you get the episode in your feed every Sunday night. Yeah, thanks again, and remember, roll the maps, never fold them.
Peace out.
Nice. Good to have you back, man.
It was good to be back. I probably talked enough for 2 podcasts because I guess I missed some. So